Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm not feeling the greatest, but I'll get through this. This is going to be a quick tour through the marketing environment. Most of you guys have had half of this already, but I'll do the whole thing, and away we go. Okay, we said the marketing environments, these forces or trends that we can't control, and we named them: competition, economy, technology, culture, political, legal, demographics, nature. So those are the things that we can't control. Why is this important? One, they're almost always changing, and the pace of change keeps increasing over and over again. This change leads to opportunities for marketers, new threats for marketers, right? Traditional cable TV stations, that was a threat for them. Streaming was an opportunity for Netflix and for Disney. And the key is to try to be proactive with impending changes, meaning don't wait for things to happen. If they're positive, jump on board. If they're negative, find ways to minimize their impact on your business. So we talked about competition. We did this in class, and really it comes down to identifying first who are your competitors. We can look at companies that do the same thing as us, substitutes, provide the same benefits. And when we did the thing about Coke and then asked what everybody was drinking, we realized that there's a lot of different types of products, different types of drinks that could satisfy the same benefit. So, same need, with the same benefit. So, I would argue that this is the most important and the best way to look at competition. And then finally, you can also look at resources. All different companies are competing for the same resources from potential customers. And this makes the most sense when there's a specific event, period, a holiday or time, such as Valentine's Day. And the key is not just to identify them, but then be able to learn their strengths and weaknesses and ultimately be able to predict their behavior. And when you know with confidence what they're going to do or how they might react to what you do, then you can come up with better strategy. And we talked about the economy. And there's lots of stuff in the economy. You don't need to know it all. It all can have a huge impact like inflation nowadays, etc. But there's two main ways it affects people, consumers, and businesses. First is, if you don't have money, you can't buy stuff. All right, so it affects our ability to make purchases. And when we have lots of money, extra money, lots of discretionary income, maybe because the stock market went up for everybody, then they're going to spend a lot of that money. The second thing is people's willingness to purchase. So we can think about it emotionally. So if we're feeling really good about our job, but the economic environment is kind of shaky and not that bright, we may hold off on big purchases. On the other hand, if we're doing okay, but the economic environment is really strong and we feel positive about everything, we'll go ahead and take on more projects, put more money in debt, take out a loan, and so forth. So it affects us not only our absolute ability, same for companies. They don't have money, they can't invest it. All right, but it also affects people's or companies' willingness to make purchases. Then we talked about Mother Nature. Certainly a big part nowadays. There's plenty of examples here. We talked about this, but just remember that it's one of the elements. And then demographics. Demographics are statistics, things you can measure reliably about people or groups of people. And these are the most common ways that we talk about demographic and these different groups and everything. And it's just important to, realize that just because people have common demographics doesn't mean they're all the same. It's just true that people who have common needs often have common demographics. And the value of demographics, I should say, is that it helps you identify who your customers are in general, and then gives you a way to reach them more effectively and more efficiently. And then I think for both classes, the last thing we talked about was culture in class when I was there. And we said culture is a set of shared values, beliefs, attitudes that lead to norms of behavior. And behavior is the key because that's what really matters to everybody, especially marketers. The values and beliefs give us insight into people's behavior, but ultimately we want people to buy, volunteer, donate, whatever it is, enlist, when we're doing marketing. So that also means, to understand people's behavior, we need to understand their values. And so when we look at other cultural groups and they do things that seem like we don't understand why they would do that, it has to do with their values 99% of the time. And it also means that people with similar values should behave the same in general, all right, especially on important things. That people who have the same beliefs about what's right and wrong should behave in similar ways. And then culture, how does it work? Well, we know that, if we do the right things in culture, we're going to get rewarded. People are going to think more highly of us. All right, we're going to get more social status. We'll feel better about ourselves. And if we do the wrong things, we go against culture, people will dislike us. We may be ostracized. We can go to prison or even be put to death. The prison system, our penal system, that's all, we created it. It wasn't handed down to us. And so, what's been the big change in the U.S.? Well, back in the day, many days ago, we were a melting pot where many of the immigrants who came over here, they wanted to become American and not, hold on to their heritage and everything. That slowly changed over the last 40, 50, 60 years, and now we're very multicultural, which means that different groups that make up, with different heritages that make up, our culture, want to hold on to that. They're proud of that. They don't want to forget that. They want other people to know it, and so forth. So for marketers, that means that you have lots of smaller groups of people with different beliefs and different behaviors, including what they like and don't like, and that you need to cater to those. And so it's an opportunity for many marketers to get into a market. On the other hand, it's tough because you can't make one product, one brand that will satisfy everybody. And then where does culture come from? Our family. It's learned. It's called acculturation, but it's our family, our institutions, media, marketers, influencers. So the big question is kind of, does media and marketers, institutions, do they create culture? Do the fashion designers and the influencers on the internet create culture? Or do they only reflect the culture, the values and beliefs that we already want? There isn't an easy answer to that question. So, technology. So, obviously, we know that technology is changing at an increasing rate. All right, and in our culture, we generally view technology as better. Right, we all want 5G. Nobody wants 4G. All right, and there's Amazon and SpaceX. Also, they're launching satellites to provide global internet. So there's all this potential change down the road with technology. Managing technology is really difficult and expensive. All right, how much does it cost to develop a pharmaceutical drug that's FDA approved? $2.6 billion. Right? And that's why the government often gives the drug manufacturer a 7 to 12 year monopoly, because it's so risky. So they need a period of time where they have zero competition to earn their money back in order to incentivize them, in order to get them to keep doing research and making more drugs for the benefit of society. Different technologies compete to become the market leader. Look at cars, hybrid, all electric, natural gas, hydrogen. There's other ones that are potentially feasible alternatives. Many companies now have fixed on electric, right? GM said they were going to spend $27 billion to develop new electric vehicles. So is Ford. So is a whole bunch of different companies. Fleets are going to be all electric. Well, the number one car maker in the world, Toyota, isn't spending nearly as much because they believe there's other technologies that may be more viable down the road, such as hydrogen or fuel cells. So you have to be careful, because if you invest a lot of money into a technology and it loses out to another one, then you've really hurt your company. Now, what I need you to know for technology is these three things. All right. So one, new technology leads to new products to market, right? Tesla, PS4, VR headsets, and so forth. All right. New drugs, Airbnb, Uber, Alexa. You can think of technology, not just like something you have, but a different idea and approach, right? That's all sharing. Okay. AI, if you want to call Alexa AI. All right. And so forth. It helps make existing products better. All right. So lithium batteries make electric cars and hybrids get better range and more viable and more attractive for the market, right? Better materials, lighter materials allow cars and different products to be made better or less expensively. And then the one that oftentimes that people kind of forget is it gives us new ways to conduct marketing, right? Internet, social media, mobile marketing. Who knows what this new chat GPT is, going to do? Artificial intelligence. So, all the marketing analytics from collecting all the data from all this digital advertising and digital commerce, that's all changing how we do marketing. So those are the three ways. Those are the three really things you need to remember. Leads to new products. It makes existing products better, all right, because some new technology enhances the product and makes it better or gives it new benefits or better benefits. And then it can change the way we market, right, by giving us new ways to access or understand our customers or distribute our products. Political legal. So this is a pretty big one too. So there's lots of laws that potentially affect marketing, right? But basically what I want you to know is there are three groups that the laws are designed to influence or protect, right? So the first is businesses. And what's the main goal in businesses? Okay, to promote competition and prevent companies from gaining an unfair advantage or situation. They want a level playing field. Why? Because it's competition, right, that makes capitalism work for society, businesses, and people. And then the second one is individuals. All right, so there's laws to protect us from deceptive advertising and contracts and returns and all that kind of stuff, and so forth. So they're, businesses inherently usually have more power. They're bigger, larger, have more influence, can do more research. They have a lot more influence through advertising and other forms. So, the laws are there to kind of, again, make it equitable, a level playing field, make it fair. And the last is society in general. And that is the idea that at some point, though, marketing keeps creeping more and more into our life, our daily life, right, with our phones that we carry around and everything, that some marketing is distasteful, all right, that we don't want it, right? So, for example, the blue laws used to be that you couldn't go shopping on a Sunday a long time ago. And, who decides that, the drinking age should be 21? Or, advertisements for cannabis can't be seen, by audiences that are likely to have anybody let me say it again. Advertising for cannabis must use media where 15% or less of the audiences should be under 21. Where 85%, yeah, I wrote it right. 85% of the people are over 21. The language that you see and the body shots you see in TV shows versus TV commercials, they're not the same. Why? Because people get upset. It's kind of, don't really understand the difference. But again, marketing has to be careful not to make it so that people find it really repugnant and want to scale it back. The other part of political is that there are things called publics. The political, you can think of it as, the example I would use in class would be, many people, my kids did too, tried out for teams where there was an A team, a B team, and a C team, and you get put on a certain team, and there'd always be a parent whose son or daughter didn't make the A team, and they made the B team, and they'd say it was politics. And it was politics because he or she was better than some other kid, but that kid that beat them out was best friends with the coach's son or daughter. So politics is a little bit about who do you know, all right, and so forth. And so in marketing, there are groups, whether they're formal organizations or informal, all right, or social movements that are really important. and they can either make you or break you, right? So Black Lives Matters and all that whole movement, right? Nike did a couple of great ads, and they really harnessed it, and they did a good job. All right, Me Too, social justice and equity. People get in trouble with political parties. And My Pillow CEO, the guy who keeps pushing the election conspiracy with Trump, his stores won't even stock his products anymore. All right, environmentally run afoul of any of the groups that are out there trying to protect the environment, it can be a big problem. I don't know if we talked about Ronald McDonald. Ronald McDonald, was one of the main symbols of McDonald's restaurants for a long time, and they have Ronald McDonald houses. I'm not sure if they call them that anymore, but they were houses that they donated all the money to for families with children with cancer and supported them. And there was a group, not a big group, but a group with lots of money who threatened to sue them because they felt Ronald McDonald was a cartoon character and that Happy Meals weren't really very healthy. And they were using that to get people hooked or addicted to McDonald's, even though it was the parents that were buying the food and so forth. And so McDonald's decided at the end it wasn't worth the lawsuit because it would just end up in all this bad publicity. So they've removed Ronald McDonald from everything. And then again, religious groups are another one. So any group, right, that, is what we would call a stakeholder, has a big concern in your product or, the type of your customer, you have to, make sure that you try to not piss them off, but more importantly, get them to be on your side, like AARP. And that can help you, access older people, seniors who still have a lot of money and have to make a lot of purchase decisions. Okay, so a couple other examples. One is just this kind of, I'm not going to test your own cause-related marketing, but again, that's a good way to get aligned with groups, the different political groups that you want to be close to. And I would just say nowadays, with all of the divisiveness and social media about different causes and politics and everything, it's important for people to use different brands that support their beliefs about the way society should be. So it's really important to, be aligned with your customers. A term you might hear is greenwashing, and just means you go out and say, it came initially with the environment, oh, we're doing all this great stuff, and you're just a bunch of crap. You're pulling a George Santos. But it's not true at all. All right, so, don't get caught doing that because then you'll get vilified or on the internet. And those are just some examples there that you can read of, cause-related marketing. Okay, now the last thing. The last thing in politics is this idea of social responsibility. And so we have this pyramid over to, the right there, and that kind of encapsulates the whole idea. So at the bottom, at the base in the green is, economic responsibilities. For a company to be, socially responsible, it needs to make a profit. It doesn't have to set its price as the lowest price. It needs to make a profit. Why? Because in the end, if you wanted to give back to the society, to the community, they have to exist. The second kind of rule is, in the blue there, is they must obey the law. They have to play by the rules. All right, and unfortunately, there's a lot of cases where companies bypass this. Why? Because it's people's careers, especially the people high up. It's a lot of money. Money is really tempting. So, unfortunately, it's not policed enough. The third one is, not only do you have to obey the rules, but you should really do what is morally or ethically right. So ethics is a code of, what is moral behavior. What is the right thing to do? So if you're a company and a person's warranty is one day over the expiration date, what should you do? You should probably honor it. If you have, indirectly caused some harm to some group or some people are not provided the benefit that you're supposed to, then you should, make sure you make that up to them. All right. And then the last part is, at the very end, be philanthropic, which means, give to others. Be a good corporate citizen. contribute to the community you're in, the town, the city, improve the quality of life of others. And the reason it's good business, besides all that, besides being a right thing to do, is when you have a stronger relationship with your customers and other groups that will support you because you're helping them, your business is going to be better. You're going to feel better. You're going to have, a better life. So, the idea of social responsibility is important. And, corporations that do that and corporations that don't do that, there's a big difference how people feel about them. And ultimately, that's going to end up, the company's going to feel that as people will spend money for the brands that they like because they trust them and they believe in them, and they won't spend the money on brands they distrust or don't like. Okay, I think that wraps it up. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to email me, and we'll get back to you. Thank you.